Exosister, and we have more Rescue Ace on the horizon, and it looks like Manadium is back for a showcase. Don't beg 30% of you that have not smashed the ever-living crap out of that subscribe button. Smash it so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. We're going to be looking at the Lotus Cup to start things off here. And this is actually one of the more diverse events that I think that we've had the chance to cover as of late. We actually had Exosister winning this event, which actually is kind of interesting overall. I'm happy to see that. Rescue Ace locks it down with a second place finish. Rescue Ace had a tremendous showing out of this weekend. I think a lot of people are going to kind of continue to look around at this deck and go, We also had Manadium locking down a third place, which isn't too terrible. I think more and more people are going to explore that deck more so as time goes on here, and we will have to see how that goes. And then, of course, you have Purrely bringing up the back end of this tournament here, actually showcasing to us that, even as much, as this might look like a slower deck right now, Purrely actually is getting checked very hard. Let's pass on over to top deck list. The first list we're going to be looking at here is, in fact, Spirit Exosister. Now, I know this is going to be really hard to kind of see everything that's going on in this list, but to be honest with you, you're playing Sakitama, Aratama, your Spirit Generation package, so that you can climb up. I think a lot of people have kind of underestimated a lot of the power that the Spirit package is going to give to this deck, because free additional normal summon extensions for this deck, it's essentially one card Magnifica, and a lot of people are going to be looking around, they're going to be like, wow, I can't believe that you're able to do this. Yeah, it's a little bit unfair, I'm going to be completely honest with you, but it really does make the deck actually functionable at the end of the day. In terms of tech choice, Exciton Knight for some comeback action. See that we have one of the many C cards in here to help us out. And then, of course, DD Crow, Raigeki. A lot more of your standard power cards that you're used to seeing in the modern format here actually work out. Good stuff, actually. Now, next up here is Rescue Ace. Rescue Ace starting to see a lot of power out here. Now, in terms of what this deck does, Emergency is the card that gets this deck going. The fact that you can bring out one, then you have to tribute another one of your Rescue Ace monsters, it's not a problem. I see that this deck is also playing Pot of Extravagance. It can actually access its extra deck, but it's not like it has a large commitment to the extra deck in any way. It's just kind of some free extra cards that you can play. See, we are playing Kaijus in here. Standard hand trap lineup as well, but in terms of what this deck is capable of doing, it actually is just a very overall strong competitor, and I actually like to see that. Overall, though, the rest of what this deck wants to do feels very, very standard and very, very developed, depending on the metagame. I still can't believe Rescue Ace is actually turned into a metagame, powerhouse out here. Good stuff. Next up here is Manadium. Now, we are playing, you guessed it, Revolution Synchron in this bad boy, because access to Ancient Fairy Dragon, access to, the big synchro monster that makes the world go round, and of course, Crimson Dragon, Altamaya, Bishi Balkan, you name it. You actually can do some crazy plays with this deck, and I really do hope that more and more players will try this. The new synchro cards really, really added to what this deck can do. Your combo lines, looking at this, full Scareclaw extension for standard board. The Triple Revolution, I think, is going to be something a lot of people might have a hard time digesting, but it's basically Global 2.0. It can revive itself and do some really cheesy little extension. I believe it comes back as a level 1, which is even more insane at the end of the day. They really wanted to add in, a lot of crazy value for this. And the last, as we are actually going to look at here out of this tournament, was Purrely. In terms of development for Purrely, I think a lot of the builds have been pretty straightforward for what they want to do. I see that we are playing Squamata and the Draw Shadal in here, which is fine. We're playing Yield, Herald of Abyss, Disrupt the Opponent. Now, an interesting little tech choice down here is the Kaiser Coliseum. Now, we can't actually do this, but I can imagine in a world where, you can set this up and then your opponent actually is just gridlocked. They can't actually do anything. That feels incredibly unfair. Purely backed up by a Kaiser Coliseum. That's got to be a massive... I can't think of any singular one monster in the game that wants to deal with a situation like that. That just seems absolutely god-awful. Outside of that, though, I mean, Purrely's still developed in the same way. You decide which combos that you want to go for, and by combos, I mean which discard fodders to really bring your flavor together. It's been pretty good, or pretty nice. All right, we're going to pass on over to the next one, shall we? Next up, we have Ed's Cup here, and this is actually kind of cool. Ed's Cup actually had double Purrely winning it, and before you're like, no way. Yeah, double Purrely actually locked down a finish. Now, why are we looking at this tournament? Well, it's because we had Dinosaur in this tournament. I've been wanting to see Dinosaur actually do something. I think that the deck is incredibly cool. And the fact that, looking at this tournament breakdown, we actually did see Dinosaur cross over the threshold here and actually make a splash was really, really cool. I also see that we have a Superheavy Samurai deck as well here. Superheavy continuing on with a little bit of their domination as well. Once again, I mean, when you're seeing these different lines of play here, different ideas kind of coming together, it really does get the chance to kind of showcase a good format. Let's pass on over to the top deck list. The first list we're going to be looking at here is actually our winning Purrely list. Yay, Purrely actually did it. In terms of this build, we are playing the Rainbow Bridge of Salvation. Now, you have to remember, discarding a Rainbow Bridge of Salvation lets you remove it, gets you your field spell, and it gives you access to Cobalt Eagle. The Cobalt Eagle then gets turned into an additional discard resource for this deck. That's the reason why this deck has become as good as it actually is right now, is because you are getting an insane amount of discard fodder off of just the stupid trap card. And yes, I understand that you can open up the Cobalt Eagle and it can turn off effectively the entire engine. That's kind of the risk that you've got to take with this deck at the end of the day, just to see how much that you can actually get going for your deck package. All right, outside of that, I think a majority of the rest of this deck is very, very standard. There's not a lot of craziness out here for this. Next up here, our next Purrely list. Now, we are doing the Rainbow Bridge of Salvation stuff, just like we saw with the last list. Now, this build is playing the 1 DD Crow. I see that we're not even playing the Recital Starling to make it. I figured that would be the only real reason why you'd want to play the Crow, but I suppose it does turn into one of those cards that you can punish your opponent if they're going to try to take advantage of it, which is good, by the way. Trust me, when you can start GD crowing opponents' resources away from them, or if you're playing against a rogue or something, it is an incredibly powerful resource. It just comes down to, you know, is this going to be the method that we need to do this? Will this actually resolve and get us the game? And 95% of the time, a crow can be powerful. But it's going to depend on, you know, your value that you're going to get. Also, I mean, stopping a Purrely from being able to eat up the material, I think that's actually kind of important at the end of the day as well. Next up was our Dinosaur list. Now, we are playing Nemesis in here, which for recyclability. The other thing I see straight off the bat is we are playing one of the Transcendric monsters in here. We're playing 2 of the, the Xeno Area 0 cards, which helps this deck out. We're playing 1 Small World in here, and we are playing 1 Frossosaurus. Okay, we're not even playing a real way to, like, fuse with our monsters. I mean, yeah, we're playing a Thunder Dragon Colossus, but I mean, like, that's not going to matter at the end of the day, because we can make that anyway, because Nemesis Corridor is an incredibly busted card in that aspect. It's just going to allow us to tutor up and then do our thing. So I like this deck. I like a lot of the ideas that are present in it. I also like the fact that we do get to play the big Exceed dinosaur monster. I think going forward, though, we'll have to wait and see if we see some other shenanigans unfold with this, but this actually gives you a good idea of what dinosaurs are doing right now. And then we have Superheavy Samurai, starring Cyberstein for the Exterio. And then, of course, they get to play Scythe in this deck to Scythe lock their opponent. I'm really glad that the TCG version of this deck's not going to have access to Scythe, because that's just a massively unfun experience for everybody involved. It makes things so bad. I also see that they are expanding out their their Psy-Frame package in the side deck has gotten really good. I see we're playing Triple Prohibition down there in the side deck. Yeah, they really don't want to lose to any of those random particular cards overall. So good stuff. So what do you guys think about this breakdown? Please leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think. I'll see your beautiful faces back here later in the day, guys. Peace out. patrons. Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.